All right, let's dive into Exodus chapter 6. This chapter is basically a huge reset button for the whole story. Remember how that first meeting with Pharaoh went? Total disaster. It felt like the mission was dead on arrival. Well, chapter 6 is where things get a serious reboot. We're going to see the story pivot from total despair to this incredible divine certainty. So let's get into it.
And boom, the chapter kicks off with this incredibly powerful statement. I mean, what a change from the last chapter, right? That was all doom and gloom. This is a hard pivot. It's a guarantee from God himself, and it completely shifts the tone. We're moving from doubt to the inevitable. The question isn't if they're getting free anymore. Now it's all about how it's going to happen.
So here's the game plan for our breakdown. First, we'll look at how God renews his promise in a big way. Then we'll get into the crisis of faith that, maybe surprisingly, this promise actually causes. We're also going to tackle that genealogy that seems to come out of nowhere. Trust me, it's there for a reason. And finally, we'll see how the mission gets reconfirmed, leaving no room for doubt.
Okay, first up, a promise renewed. This whole section is about God laying the foundation again, making it solid as a rock. And look, this isn't just a, hey, remember what I said kind of reminder. No, this is much deeper. It's about strengthening the relationship and doubling down on the commitment.
And this is a huge moment. God reveals a new name, Jehovah. You see, the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they knew God as God Almighty. But this is a personal name. It signals something totally new, a much more intimate, direct relationship. It's not just a label. Think of it as a fundamental upgrade in the whole connection.
So you might be asking, why now? Why this big reveal at this moment? Well, the text is super clear about it. 2 reasons. 1, God has heard the people groaning. Their suffering is what kicks everything off. And 2, God has remembered his covenant. That promise he made way back when to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So this isn't some random act. It's the fulfillment of a long-standing agreement. And get this, the promise is laid out in this amazing series of 7 I will statements. And if you look closely, there's a real progression. It starts with freedom, right? I will bring you out. I will rid you of bondage. I will redeem you. But then it shifts. It moves into nation building. I will take you as my people. I will be your God. And it all culminates in inheritance. It's like a complete blueprint, from rescue to creating an entire nation.
Now, with a promise that powerful, you'd think the people would be ecstatic, right? Cheering in the streets? Yeah, that's not what happens. Not even close. What we actually get is this huge, jarring clash between God's amazing promise and the brutal reality of what people were actually living through.
And this slide really lays out the central conflict of the chapter, doesn't it? On one hand, you have this incredible sweeping promise from God, and on the other, the heartbreaking reality that the people just couldn't take it in. Their suffering was like this massive wall, and no words of hope, no matter how powerful, could get through. And it's so important to understand this. This wasn't about them being stubborn or faithless. The text is really specific. It says it was because of anguish of spirit and for cruel bondage. I mean, can you imagine? They were so completely crushed, physically and emotionally, that the very idea of a better future felt impossible. It was literally unbelievable. They were just too tired to even hope. So of course, this rejection just devastates Moses. You can almost hear him thinking, wait a minute, if my own people won't listen to me, how in the world am I supposed to get Pharaoh to listen? He completely internalizes their despair, and his own crisis of confidence, that classic imposter syndrome, just comes roaring back. He goes right back to worrying about his uncircumcised lips, this feeling that he's just not a good enough speaker for the job. So what's the story's answer to this huge crisis of faith and leadership? A family tree. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. A genealogy? Really? Now? But you have to remember, in this world, your lineage was your resume. So this isn't just some boring list of names. It is the story's very specific answer to the question, who is actually in charge here?
Seriously, this is the question every single person asks when they read this chapter. The story is picking up speed, there's all this tension, and then screech! We hit the brakes for a list of ancestors. It feels so out of place, but I promise you, there is a very deliberate, very strategic reason for hitting pause right here.
So what this genealogy does is it traces this very clear official line of authority. It's like a zoom lens, right? It starts with the sons of Israel, zooms in on the tribe of Levi, then to Kohath, then Amram, and finally, bam, it lands right on Aaron and Moses. This isn't just a family tree. It's basically stamping their official papers. It proves they aren't just two random guys who showed up with a message. Nope, they have a legitimate, traceable claim to leadership.
And the best part is, the text tells you exactly why it's there right at the end of the list. It's like a big drum roll that ends with the narrator pointing and saying, "See, these are the guys." It's the formal confirmation, the validation of Moses and Aaron as the ones chosen for this mission. So that family tree, it's not a detour at all. It's their official commissioning.
And that brings us to our last section, the mission reconfirmed. So we've had the promise, we've had the protest from the people, and we've had the leader's authority stamped and approved. Now the story gets right back on track, with a command that is crystal clear and totally non-negotiable.
With this one command, all the complexity, all the doubt, it just gets swept aside. It is so simple and direct. There's no wiggle room, no room for debate. The instruction isn't go convince Pharaoh or try to negotiate. It's just speak. Moses' job is to be a channel, a direct pipeline, delivering the message word for word.
But here's what's so fascinating and so incredibly human, even after all of that. The huge promise, the official genealogy, the super direct command, Moses' self-doubt is still there. He repeats his old objection almost word for word. It just goes to show you, a command from God doesn't just magically wipe away our insecurities. Moses is still Moses, full of doubt. The only difference is, now he has a mission that he simply cannot refuse.
And that's where chapter 6 leaves us, right on the brink of this epic confrontation. You've got this divine promise, which has become a truly unstoppable force. And it's on a collision course with the immovable object that is Pharaoh. What this chapter did was set the stage perfectly. It clarified the stakes, it confirmed who's in charge, and it made the conflict that's coming next feel absolutely 100% inevitable.